Welcome to More to Me. This is where I'm in conversation with men and women who have left their conventional careers and pivoted to following their passion, their inner calling. Today's guest is the founder of She Means Business, Dipika Singh, who's had a most amazing and inspiration worthy journey. I've been following her for the last almost 12, 13 years, and there is so much one has to learn from her, and I've learned so much from her. Welcome, Dipika, and thank you for agreeing to be featured on More to Me.
Thank you so much, Kanchana, first of all, for having me. I'm super excited about this conversation because I really, really like the topic. And I think I have lived that topic. So I'm
Exactly.
really looking forward to this.
Thank you. So, to give a brief background of Deepika's journey, she's been she's a marketing person. She's been with various creative agencies. And in her last stint, which was almost 12, 13 years ago, she was with Kingfisher. And when Kingfisher folded up, that's when she decided to fly solo. And she decided that she wanted to become what is today known as a content creator and a whole lot of other things, which we will discuss today. So, my first question to you, Deepika, is that in 2012, 13, when Kingfisher folded up, the most natural next step would have been to find another job. But you didn't look for another job. You decided that you're going to fly solo and you're going to become an entrepreneur. So tell us what went in your mind then and what made you take up this decision?
To be very honest, Kanchana, I had a bit of a choppy corporate career because a couple of times I took breaks because I moved with my husband. But at the same time, I enjoyed myself. I was in marketing, I enjoyed myself. But I always had this kida that I wanted to try something of my own, right? So when Kingfisher folded up, and I thought this was a great opportunity. I thought this was a great opportunity to really sink my teeth into something and do something of my own. So the idea of actually putting together a CV and going to look for another job. I mean, no, no, it was a complete no. I started from there. I said, no, I'm
Mhm.
not going to do that. I'm just going to fly solo. I'll figure it
Mhm.
out. I had no
Mhm.
idea what I wanted to do, but I'm going to figure this out. But I was feeling very brave at that point, and I had the support of my husband. He was like, "Yeah, yeah, figure it out." So I said, "Okay, let me just figure this out." So that is what happened.
Great. So, and at that time, like we've had a conversation, and I've been, and as I said, I've known Deepika since I was in Bombay in 2012, 13. That's when I first got to know her. And, you've been creating content since then. So, now, and that's for the last, what, 12, 13 years. Okay. So you started creating content, Deepika, at a time when that was not even a thing, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
what is it that you thought about? What was your thought process, and what was the journey like when you started?
What a great question. And actually, it's not around that time. To be very fair, I've always been interested in uh, having an opinion and putting my thoughts out there, right? So in school, I would write and I would debate. I was a writer. My favorite thing to do was to write essays. Remember, we used to have a topic and then you
Yes,
had to write
yes, of
100-word
course.
essays.
Yeah, yeah.
So I really like that. And then in 2008, I moved to Mumbai, and then blogging
Mhm.
had just started, and I stumbled upon someone's blog. I don't know how, but I stumbled upon someone's blog, and I thought, wow, and I love tinkering and figuring out things. So I said, okay, let me start a blog on Blogspot. At that point, Blogspot was the platform. So I said, let me figure it out. Let me start and then I'll see. So 2008, I think August, around that time, I started my blog, right? And I enjoyed it so much. I would write on anything, and there were very few people blogging at that point. And I remember there was this community, and I'm still friends with so many of them. And so I started doing that, and that kind of grew, and I thoroughly enjoyed having a space where I could talk to people. I
Hmm.
didn't know who those people were, but I could talk to people. It was very satisfying to put an opinion out there in the internet about things that mattered to me. And I really enjoyed that. And then from there, it all became a sort of natural progression. I then went on to then of course wanted to start. Then it was a very different story. I was doing the blog, etc.
So
Then
I'll
came,
just interrupt you here.
huh,
So
yeah.
your blog was about what? Can you tell us a few topics from your
It
blog
was
that
about it was about my life and things I wanted to talk about. So there's this really fun article about skincare, as a woman in her 30s. And I remember it won some award, etc. How complicated skincare. It was a fun, this thing. Then I wrote about what happens when my husband travels, It really, again, a very fun thing about, when you're away, darling. That was the topic, when you're
um,
away, darling. And quite, because, I enjoy it. I like my time alone and what I fill it up with. Then I wrote about, travel, where we travel, etc. So there were things that, just there was anything. There was no set, there was no niche. I didn't write
hmm,
about food. I didn't write about clothes. I just wrote about my life, which is pretty much what I like to do. When I create content, I like to create content around my life.
hmm,
That is what my blog was about. And I remember I used to write at night. And then I became so addicted, I would write anytime. Office mein also I was putting together
um,
blogs. But I really, really, really enjoyed that. So that was my start of
hmm.
content creation.
And actually, a video
Then,
content that you're doing is kind of like your blog. You kind of
yes.
talk about diverse topics, not, and we'll come to that question later.
Ha, ha, ha.
Mm,
Yeah. So then then this whole entrepreneurship kida. So then, what happened was that I started working as a learning facilitator. I fell into that.
mm,
And when I would do leadership workshops, I teach executive presence. When I would do leadership workshops, I would see very few women in those workshops. And then I wanted to do something around that, Kanchana. So I said that, I want to start an interview series because I want to build more women role models. It's typical, as women, we look at other women and we think, oh, wow, what great hair. Or we say, oh, wow, she's wearing something so nice. Similarly, oh, wow, what a great career. How is she managing her work life balance? So I thought, I wanted to do something in this space. And I very ambitiously thought I'll start an interview series called the Shimi's Business Chat Show. I came and interviewed you too,
yes, yes,
Kanchana, I
yes. I
remember.
remember you came all the way to
Yeah,
Gurgaon and we spoke about my
yeah,
books and all that. Yeah,
yes. So
yes.
that's how the video content started. The chat show did not really do too well, but I got addicted to video content. And I had this YouTube channel, so I thought, let me just make videos to market my work as a learning facilitator.
Mhm.
So I started creating videos on presentation skills, communication skills, everything that I teach people. So those became like little bites for people to see and understand what I do for work, and also like marketing for my work. And also I enjoyed putting my voice out there. So I
Mm,
began, and everything I figured out in terms of how to shoot, how to upload, etc. So that's how I got into video content. Initially, uh, I would make content around my subject, which is executive presence. But slowly I realized that there's more to me, exactly as you
yeah.
say. And I'm not just my work, and I'm not just presentation skills and communication skills. And I'd like the world to see that more to me as well. And so my saris, my styling, my puppy, everybody started appearing on my video content as well. And today I have a fairly decent following on Instagram, on YouTube, and even on LinkedIn.
Mm,
Yeah, so and I now just talk about my life. That's
mm.
how my video
And
content
I
is.
think, I mean, the main takeaway from this, I would say is that you were doing what you enjoyed doing. You
Yeah.
thorough, you were not just kind of making a career out of it, but you were just putting your own likes, dislikes, opinion, and you were having fun. So I think the key takeaway from here is that you have to enjoy what you're doing. Then you can keep doing it for a long time.
I would absolutely say yes. Particularly the content, Kanchana, I feel that there is no purpose. Initially, when I started the content, there was a purpose. I wanted to build more role models, but there was I didn't attach it to any outcomes. Oh my God, I have to have so many viewers, or oh my God,
Hmm.
so much has to happen. Then when I naturally fell into the whole presentation skills and all, it just became a marketing tool for me, for,
Hmm.
the whole workshops that I sell. Um, But I think primarily I just enjoy the process.
Hmm.
I have never put my content into any kind of outcome led, like it has to be numbers or so many people have to watch me or so many
Hmm.
brands have to reach out. Nothing like that. And I think I've lasted over so many years with okayish numbers is because I just enjoy the process of
Process.
putting out that
Hmm.
content. Yes, that I really, really enjoy.
Hmm.
Again, it's about, putting your opinions, thoughts,
Yeah.
etc. out there for people. So
Hmm.
I really enjoy the process
Hmm.
of
So,
creating
Deepika,
content.
another thing is that, I've noticed that one of the reasons why I started the More to Me series is, people, society, they like to pin identifiable tags on people, and
Yeah,
and a conversation starter in any party, even, if you meet someone for the first time in an elevator and you're going just three, four floors, the first thing they
yeah,
ask each other, and more, and this is more from, more with men to men, but also now with women. So what do you do? So, this
huh,
this question has become like a all-encompassing question. And as if, if you don't have an identifiable tag, like I'm a marketing head, I'm
yeah,
a CEO,
yeah,
etc. So, my
yeah.
question to you is that, have you ever struggled with this conundrum that when people asked you, see, now today, she means business is very established. You're doing lots of, kind of you're focusing on women-led businesses, and there is a lot more to
So
be
true.
talking about.
Yeah.
But a couple of years ago, when you were, still in the process of just content creating, when people asked you, so Deepika, what do you do? So how did you respond to that? Or did that bother you? Because you didn't really have a structured, conventional
Hmm.
job to tell people about.
Actually, didn't so much.
Hmm.
See, when I first started out, and even today, my primary job is to be a learning facilitator,
Ah,
right? Even and I don't talk about it because I've established it, and now that business is very, very B2B. It's very B2B. I have corporate clients. Over years, I've built those corporate clients. And now, there's word by mouth and people move from company to company and then, they take me along with them. So
ah,
if they've been doing corporate workshops with me in one company, they move to another company, HR will move. So that is my primary job. So initially, that is what I would tell people. I'm a learning facilitator.
okay.
The content creation bit actually did not even enter into that. But you're right. In the last 4 5 years, when my content has gone up and
Hmm.
Shimi's business has entered, now I've scaled it up. I'm trying to create a storytelling platform around women. Now there are these three things that I do. Right? There's learning facilitator. So I so if I were to give a very practical answer, I would say that I look at who's asking me this question and I reply accordingly, right?
Hmm.
So if it's a corporate person and I feel, no point even getting into because I don't think of it as I have to explain myself to everybody. I don't have to do that. If this person will understand a tag, I will give this person a tag, right? So I don't fall into this struggle of I have to explain myself. I don't. If I meet someone who I feel that needs a very black and white answer, they'll only understand a black and white answer. Then I say that I'm a learning facilitator. I work with corporates and I also create some content on the side because then I want them to go check out my content, right? Now I've started talking about She Means Business a lot. But if somebody were to say, what do you do? I generally, now I've reached a stage where I say I'm a very interesting person. I do multiple things. Would you like to know what all I do? So and they're like, what? So then I say, okay, so A, I'm a learning facilitator. B, I create a lot of content. And three, I'm setting up a media platform where we
Hmm.
only tell stories about women. That's it. That's it. So that is how I approach it.
Great.
But for me, it is not about, I have to explain myself.
Ah,
This person has to know. It's a fun thing. They'll figure it out in any way, so that's how I
hmm. Hmm.
look at
Wonderful.
it.
Now, take us through some of the important milestones in your journey and in the journey of She Means Business.
Okay, so I firstly love the name. I'll tell you how She Means Business actually started. Like I said, I'm a learning facilitator, and every time I would do a senior leadership workshop, even a mid management workshop, there are very few women, right? And almost about 9 10 years back, I had this workshop. with very senior management of a company. Kanchana, 36 men. I will never forget it. 36 men, not a single woman, right?
Mm,
And I remember thinking that how is it that this company doesn't have a single woman in the pipeline for a leadership position? And what it's then, even today, now, I do workshops. Again, the ratio of men to women is very dismal. Anyway, so that night I had gone out for dinner with my husband and I told him that, listen, I want to do something about this. It's irking me and I don't know what I want to do. And then on that dinner, I came up with the name. I said, I'm going to call it She Means Business, something I will do around women. So I had
mm,
the name, huh, but I did not have a plan. Then so the first thing I did was that whole role models. I want to
mm.
build more role models because I feel that women, if they look at other women doing interesting
Yeah.
things, they also feel inspired. So I
Mm,
started a interview series. But then, because I do workshops and I had clients, I also started a series of workshops only for women, for
mm,
corporates,
mm,
around presence, around confidence, around non-verbal communication, what you're wearing, etc. The interview series did not take off so much. The workshops took off,
mm,
right? But there was no name as such. I was continuing to operate as Dipika Singh. They'll call me for a workshop. But because the YouTube channel and my Instagram account both had She Means Business, the name kind of became popular and I
mm,
became known as the She Means Business girl, right? And then in end of 2024, I decided that I have this great name. I do so much work in this field, with women. I really wanted to scale it up.
mm,
Again, I did not know what I want to do. So I kind of, again, started with something. So I initially thought I would make like a media platform where
mm,
we'll talk everything women, tips and interviews and news and everything, but that was too vast for me to sort of start with. I did not have the bandwidth. So I went back to my original idea of building more role models. So now we tell stories of women, what
mm,
women are doing, so that other women can also take inspiration from them.
mm, mm.
So it's a twofold goal. One is to give a platform for women to be more visible. And the second is obviously other women who are reading or hearing these stories get inspired. So that's the idea with She Means Business.
Tell us about some of the brand associations that you've done. You started with Suta and others, so it would be
Yes,
nice to just kind of talk
yes,
about those.
yes, yes. So when we started, it was purely online.
Hmm.
And then another girl came on board.
Hmm.
She was on a break. And then she had seen my content a lot. And I keep talking about women on a break. And she said, can I come and work with you? I said, please. She came, she joined, and she wanted to do offline events. So we said, okay, we'll start doing interesting offline events. And that's how we started. Our first large event was with Suta Saris.
Hmm.
So our format is very simple. We call an inspiring woman to talk to other women, right? So there's question answer. It's
Yeah.
like a fireside chat, but it's a very interactive fireside
Hmm.
chat. So the Suta sisters came for that, but it was such a fun event. They bought saris to give away. Then we also put up like a little pop-up where there were saris, and then we got associated brands like,
Hmm.
one Regal Shoes was there, and other stuff was there. So women came, they came in their saris. There was a photo booth. Then we had a lovely, lovely conversation with the Suta
Hmm.
co-founders. Then there was shopping to do. Then there was food. Then there was so many photographs. It was a lot of fun.
Lovely,
And
lovely.
yeah, it was so much fun.
I
And
wish you
I
would do
realized
something like this in Gurgaon.
I want to.
Yeah.
This year, definitely we will be doing an event in Gurgaon as well. That's like, I'm definitely going to do something
Great,
like this.
great, great. So, when I watch your video content, I see a beautiful mix of very serious topics where you're
Yeah,
talking about, about women succeeding, about women and the glass ceiling and how to present, how to negotiate for salaries. Then you're talking about, how to dress up, do power dressing and etc. And then you also have a uh, few other topics like kind of not living with your parents and being a no child couple etc.
yeah,
And then you have some very quirky fun things where you will sit with
yeah.
your pitara of jewelry. So what I want to ask you is that
And makeup. I do
and
makeup
make
videos also
yeah and
sometimes.
makeup, and you won't believe it,
Yes.
I take so many tips from you, Deepika. I have bought that cake a tube and I use it as a that
Ah,
same
I've
blush
also
on.
put it.
Yeah, I'm
Ah,
also
yeah.
wearing it. Like, it's so good. So and any online social media marketing person will say that don't stray from your topic,
Yeah.
keep on talking
Yeah.
about you. But when I look at your content, there is such a beautiful mix. So, I know you've kind of, this would be repeating yourself. You said you did mention that you just talk about what you like and what you don't like,
Yeah.
and it's just your fun thing. But does it ever kind of come to you, or do you ever think that, what if the importance of my brand gets diluted
Yeah.
by some of, like I'm taking Tiffin to my husband's office and then you shoot a cute video with
Yeah.
him?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Huh.
Actually, that's a very good question. It's a very, very, very good question because I think women from our age, we have been conditioned that if you're talking about a serious topic, then you have to wear certain kind of clothes and you have to have a
Hmm.
certain persona. And also, I also feel that is also true. When you're working in a corporate, you can't, at least at our times, I remember you can't just turn up in some quirky clothes. You will be talked about behind your
Yeah.
back. And there will be, gossip and all of that. Yeah. So I feel that there is that bit about, we are very quick to judge. If she's
Hmm.
talking about serious topics, but she's wearing like a halter neck while doing it, then is she worth listening to or not? Our generation particularly, we still continue to think like that. But now I feel when I look at younger girls in their content, they could be doing great work, but they could just be also doing very quirky content, wearing whatever they want to. And I take a lot of inspiration from that. I think things need to change. But I also feel like, I'm 51. I feel that if not now, then when?
Hmm.
If I don't explore all the facets of myself and try
Hmm.
to just do one thing, then I'm letting myself down because
Hmm.
this is me. I love to talk about marriage. I like to talk about being a child free couple because there are so many other people and we
Hmm.
need to normalize it, and there's so many younger couples who want to understand in the future, will they regret it, for example, or not. So I like to showcase my saris. I love makeup and skincare, but I also do speak about, like executive presence, and I have corporate clients for that matter. But I think over time, what has happened is that firstly, when I started the content, if you remember, it was presentation skills,
Hmm.
etc. And then
Hmm.
slowly I kind of brought more facets of myself into my this thing. But I think it's kind of worked because this is me, this is my personality, and this is who I am. So I've been sort of, putting everything out there because I feel that these are all my dreams. I grew up wanting to be on stage, and one of my things was to someday be a model, perhaps. Obviously, not possible. But today, I have this one gadget which I can stick in front of me and model my saris, and
Exactly.
I feel so happy about it.
Uh,
So everything I'm doing now is basically for me
uh,
and people, and I find my audience. I always feel that I will find my audience, and if you don't understand it, then it doesn't really, And I
hmm.
have enough corporate clients now to know that, I give good workshops, so it really doesn't matter.
Hmm.
And I think over time, I've managed to build that sort of brand. So now it is not separate. Now it is just a whole
Hmm.
brand. This is who Dipika really is. So if you look at it very individually, yes, it's sort of, very scattered, but over time, it sort of becomes like a brand, which is what has happened.
True. So, now this brings us to the obvious question that everyone is asking today about is AI and the disruption that AI is going to bring into our lives, into our jobs. So I have two questions on this. So one is that, as a content creator, what is your take on AI and AI created content? Is it going to replace human content? Uh, what do you see the future of content creation as?
I feel that if you're a thinking person,
Hmm.
you will want to see content by a human because there has to be some original thought behind that content.
Hmm.
Having said that, AI is it's becoming more and more and more
Hmm.
entrenched into content and into our lives. So I have taken AI in my stride, right? So I will use AI to I don't use AI to write for me. I don't use AI to think for me. I use sometimes AI to polish. But I use AI a lot in things like, graphics, for example, in the video that I'm making, for example, right? The lighting, etc. There I will use AI. But I simply feel that if you have, I enjoy content. I enjoy creating content. Why will I replace it with AI?
Mm,
I enjoy having a point of view. There is no point in, if I'm going to ask AI to write for me, then it takes away my joy of expressing
mm,
myself. At best, I can ask AI to polish something for me, right? Otherwise, where's the joy? Similarly, when I see content, I follow people. I'm very quick to, I will see a AI piece of content and perhaps enjoy it. Will I get attached to the account? No, I will not. I will get attached to a human that is creating content. So I think there will be a lot more AI that we will see. But
mm.
I think the more you continue to use your original thought, the better off you will be, because that will become scarce. That will actually, people who actually are able to think, analyze, have critical thinking, put out their own voice. I feel that is, if you are able to do that,
Mm.
that will actually help you to really, really stand out. Otherwise, it's very simple to let AI sort
Of
of,
course, of
take.
course.
It's there, it's coming, it's there, and more, it's becoming so much more polished that now it is very difficult to figure out uh,
Mm.
you know, what is AI and what is
What?
not AI. When I go to LinkedIn, sometimes I'm like, no, I can make out. Please don't write AI slop on LinkedIn. But
Yeah.
it's coming. But I would, to everybody, I would just say, ki, please don't give up your critical thinking skills
Mm.
at all and your writing skills. I think
Yeah.
writing
True.
is the
True. So
biggest skill.
those who
Yeah.
want to, kind of become a content creator, what would be your three top tips for them?
Don't overthink. Just create. I think too many people think about what is my niche, what am I going to talk about, what if this doesn't look good, what if I don't look good, no one cares. Trust me,
Mm.
no one. Especially the first, I think 50 pieces of content, particularly if you're doing 50 videos, how will you learn unless and until you don't create and you don't put it out there? You will learn your own, you will firstly get over your own fear when you put it
Mm.
out there, right? So don't think too much. Think about what is it that interests you, what is it that makes you curious, what is it that you want to talk about, right?
Mm.
Start putting that out, and then you will find your own subjects and what you feel comfortable putting out, right? And I would also say that learn a little bit about the tools, right? So learn a little bit about editing. Initially you're not going to have editors and all, right? So
Mm.
tinker around, play, learn, have fun. Have fun with the process of creating content, and then
Mm.
choose which medium and which platform you feel most comfortable with. If you like to write, write. Make carousel posts now. Nobody's asking you to create video. If you like to create video, create video. So choose your medium and platform also as per what you are most comfortable in. That is what I would say.
Great. Super tips. Super. So, okay, now this brings us to the last question. There is more to me because.
Because I have multiple dreams. I have so many dreams, and I feel that I would there's so much that I want to do.
Mhm.
I'm also smart enough to know that every dream cannot be same priority or same weightage, right? Or same time or the same amount of money, whether earned or spent,
Mm.
right? So but it doesn't stop me from trying to chase every dream. So there will always be one main source of income and one main thing that you do. Then there will be another thing which is rising, and then there will be many many side quests, and these side quests may not have immediate outcome or immediate something, but there are things that add to me, and tomorrow there could be something out of it. I started creating content 10 years back. Today
Yes.
I'm trying to build a media platform, right? So I feel there is so much I want to do, but I also understand how and what weightage to give every little dream of
Mhm.
mine.
Mhm.
But there are multiple dreams, and I want to fulfill all
Wonderful.
those
So,
dreams.
would you like to tell us about any one or two side quests that you have right now?
Right now, okay, so I started learning swimming last year,
Hmm.
and then it sort of stopped, right? And I'm not a very physical, like I go to the gym a bit and all, but I've never been fond of very physical activity. Like I don't
Hmm.
like trekking. My husband does all of these, right? And I've always been scared of water. But you know what? I put my mind to it and thought, let me learn swimming. And I actually started to enjoy it. And then for some reason, there was a break, right? So now I've gone back and now I want to do my PADI certification proper. And then I want
Wow.
to start, yes. So I've already done the pool training for the PADI, this
Huh.
thing. Now I have to do open water. I'm going to be going now for my open water. So I definitely want to finish all of that, and swimming and
Awesome.
diving and all of that is one of my yeah, side quests. So I have all of these chota chota
Wonderful.
things
Wonderful.
that I.
Great. Great. So, with that, we come to the end of the conversation. It's always such a delight to talk to Dipika. So much to learn, so much to admire, and so many takeaways. So, please do follow her if you don't. She means business on Instagram, LinkedIn, across and YouTube. Her videos are awesome. So, thank you, Dipika, once again. And it was wonderful chatting with you and getting to know about you and your journey.
Thank you so much, Kanchana. Absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
Thanks.